Medicaid or Medicare, this raises your private health insurance costs too. And every single Republican in Arizona voted to cut Medicaid. Not an accusation, it was their vote. Because you see, these budgets aren't just fights about numbers. They are fights over our values that define us as a country. Because Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security were promises that we as a people have made to each other about who we want to be and the kind of nation we want to become. A nation that cares for its elders, that values people with disabilities, that thinks kids with disabilities should have access to special education. But these promises that we've made to each other are not promises from politicians to the people or charity from the rich to the poor. These are promises that we make to each other. We pay into each other. We, neighbor to neighbor, friend to friend, teacher to student, worker to worker. And to me, Tucson, the strength of our country is not just measured by the height of our best days. It's about who and what's there for you on your worst day. And that's why I'm here with you today. Because let me share with you exactly what I mean. What these folks want to call radical, I believe, is common sense. I think that in the wealthiest nation in the history of the world, if a person gets sick, they shouldn't go bankrupt. I believe that a minimum wage should cover the minimum cost to live. Common sense. And Tucson, I believe that homes are not slot machines for investors and big banks to extort working families out of every last dollar that we have. Home is sacred, and you deserve a government that fights to help you keep an affordable roof over your head. I believe that our elected officials should take on abuse of corporate power everywhere that we find it. We must get big money out of politics and make clear that our country is not for sale. That's why I don't and never will take money from industry lobbyists or corporations. And you know, some folks, maybe some local members of Congress out here or some pundits on television might have you believe that these American values are something out of the Communist Manifesto. And that we believe these things because we went to some fancy school and read them in a book somewhere. But I can tell you, we don't believe in healthcare, labor, and human dignity because we're extremists. And I don't believe these things because I'm an extremist. I believe these things because I was a waitress, Tucson. Because I scrubbed toilets with my mom to afford school. Because I've worked double shifts to keep the lights on. Because I did lose my dad to cancer as a kid and had to see my mom open the hospital bills a couple days after. And I know that we don't have to live like this anymore, Tucson. I don't want to live like this anymore, and we deserve better than this. And it's not just about Republicans. We need a Democratic Party that fights harder for us, too. And that means communities choosing and voting for those Democrats and elected officials who know how to stand for the working class. In Arizona, I want to thank you for working so hard to continue to make that happen. It was Tucson that sent a man like Raul Grijalva to Congress. And I know that you will continue to make us proud in Congress as well. In fact, one thing I love about Arizonans is that you all have shown that if a U.S. Senator isn't fighting hard enough for you in the Senate or elsewhere, you're not afraid to replace her with one who will and win. And that's how you got Mark Kelly and Ruben Gallego. And that's not all. Last week, when other Democrats caved in the Senate, your senators stood strong against the D.C. pressure and voted no against a Republican spending bill that cuts billions for the working class. Arizona stood up. Arizona had a spine last week, and I thank you. In fact, all the Democrats who represent a congressional district in Arizona also voted against the bill. So I want to shout out Representatives Yasmin Ansari and Greg Stanton for their courage. Defend them, Arizona, but don't stop there. Because you know who did vote to gut Medicaid and jack up healthcare costs? Every single Republican in the state of Arizona, including Representative Schweikert. So you know what that means. You know what our mission is here, right? This whole state needs to come together and give Schweikert the boot and replace him with a Democrat who fights for the working class. That's our mission for the next year, and it doesn't stop there. Every down ballot race matters. This fascist administration didn't come from anywhere. They have planted the seeds for years. PTAs, bullying people out of school boards, city councils. It's time to put our glasses on. We got an Air Force show out here. They're our backup today. We need to pay attention to every local race on the ballot, Arizona. We're taking this state over. We're taking it back. And we're going to fight for the future that we deserve. Si se puede, vamos a hacerlo, lo vamos a lograr. Beyond elections, our task is to build community. Block associations, neighborhood groups, volunteer groups, church organizations, PTAs. Community is the tissue and the infrastructure for us to win. Union drives, standing with our farm workers. Standing together is how we win. Because community is the most powerful building block we have to defeat authoritarianism and root out corruption. It's not a mistake that all of this backsliding is happening after COVID when we were isolated and apart. But then after that, they tried to keep us isolated and apart because when you don't know your neighbor, it's easier to turn against them. So that's why what you do matters. Showing up to the community board matters. Showing up in person matters. Because it becomes so much harder to hate someone you know. That is our mission. Don't think it's too small. There is no act too small in the next couple years. So I'll end where I began. We might all come from different places, Tucson, but we share a lot of the same experiences. So to all those who came here today unsure of whether this is where you belong, I want to say that you do. And truly, if you're here today giving this a shot for the first time, I want to let you know, no matter who you voted for in the past, no matter if you know all the right words to say, no matter your race, religion, gender identity, or status, no matter if you're a dreamer or a U.S. citizen, no matter if you disagree with me on some things, if you are willing to fight for someone you don't know, you are welcome here. If you're willing to fight for working people, regardless of who they are, how they identify, or where they come from, you are welcome here. Because here, everyone is valued. But I will say this, to those leaders on either side of the aisle who are willing to put their fellow Americans down so that they can get ahead or feel better about themselves, those folks might best find a home somewhere else. Because in this house, we stand together. Because here, we know that together, without exception, is the only way that we can win. I hope you see that this movement is not about partisan labels or purity tests, but it's about class solidarity. It's about the thousands of you who came out today to stand together and say our lives deserve dignity and our work deserves respect. No matter who we are or where we come from, we are here today to make a sacred promise to each other. Because our goal is not just to come together, share a few inspiring words, and then go back to how things were. We can't go back to how things were. Our goal today is to commit to building the kind of country we all deserve. So I want you all to look around. These are your brethren for the fight for our future. And I want you to look around And if I can offer one assignment before we all depart here today, it is to leave this place connected to a new person you didn't know coming into this place. And I want you to turn to the people around you and greet someone you don't know. This is my favorite part. Now that we've done that, we're here to again make that promise, to take care of each other on our worst days and to share in the successes of our best. Thank you, Tucson. It's my honor today to introduce someone who has spent his life bringing us together, someone who has given voice to the future that we deserve. Please welcome Senator Bernie Sanders.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks. Isn't that
Tucson, thank you.